Hey everyone, so today we're going to tackle a term that gets thrown around a lot, especially in tech circles: root access. You've probably heard it, but what does it actually mean? Let's break it down.
You've definitely seen this, right? You go to install some new software, or maybe you're digging around in the settings, and bam, your computer hits you with a pop-up. It's basically asking, whoa there, are you absolutely positive you want to do this? That little warning, that's the gate. And what's behind it is a whole other level of control. And yeah, keys to the kingdom isn't just a cool phrase. It's literally what it is. When you have root access, you can go anywhere and do anything inside your device. It's like having an all-access VIP backstage pass. But, to really get what that means, we need to understand how this kingdom, your operating system, is actually put together.
All right, so let's get into it. The best way to think about your operating system is like an onion. Seriously, it's all about layers. And the deeper you peel back those layers, the closer you get to the core, and the more vital and heavily guarded everything becomes. And this is the key thing to remember. Root access isn't just about getting a little more permission. No, it's about getting all of the permission. Period. There are no locked doors, no hidden files, no settings you can't touch. You are the ultimate, absolute boss of the system. So, let's actually peel that onion. On the very outside, you've got the user interface. That's all the stuff you see and click on. Your apps, your desktop, all that. Go a layer deeper and you find the system components, the things doing all the heavy lifting in the background. But right at the very center, that's the kernel. The kernel is the brain. It's what talks directly to the physical hardware, the chips and memory. If the kernel messes up, the whole system is toast. And root access, it lets you waltz right into that core and start changing things. Think about it like this. Most of the time, we're just visitors in our own operating system. We have permission to read certain files, look, but don't touch. And we have write permission for our own stuff, like our documents and photos. But root access, that's different. That gives you read, write, and demolish and rebuild access to everything, even those supercritical kernel files we just talked about. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. How do the big players, Windows, macOS, Linux, handle this kind of power on our PCs? They all know it's a terrible idea to let users run around with root access all the time, so each one has developed its own unique way of dealing with it. On the Linux side of things, you've got the famous sudo command. It literally stands for super user do, and it's like asking for a temporary power-up for just one command. Then you have Windows with its user account control. You know the one. The screen goes dark and that big box pops up asking if you're really sure. And over on macOS, it's a bit more subtle. You'll see those little padlock icons in the corner of your settings. You have to click it and type your password to make big changes. See? They're all just different ways of letting you borrow the keys for a minute without giving you a permanent copy. Okay, so that's PCs. But what about the computers we have in our pockets, our smartphones? This is where the story takes a huge turn. See, with a PC, the manufacturers basically hand you the admin password and say, be careful. With phones, yeah, it's a whole different ballgame. And this isn't an accident. It's a deliberate choice. Companies like Apple and Google lock down the core of their mobile operating systems on purpose. They build what's called a walled garden. And sure, part of that is for security and to make sure things run smoothly, but let's be real, it's also about business. It lets them control the entire experience, and more importantly, control the app stores where they get a piece of the action. But as you can imagine, there are always people who want to find a way over that wall. And that brings us to two words you've probably heard a million times: rooting and jailbreaking. In the Android world, it's called rooting. Since Android is already pretty open, rooting is all about getting around the specific limits the phone maker put in place. Then you have iOS. For Apple devices, it's called jailbreaking. I mean, the name says it all, right? It's about using some really clever security tricks to literally break out of Apple's super lockdown system. Different methods, different names, but the end goal is exactly the same: getting that root access. So you might be asking, why would anyone bother with all this? What's the big payoff? Well, it's simple. Absolute, total control. You can rip out the standard Android and install a custom ROM with all sorts of cool features. You can finally get rid of all that bloatware your carrier forced on you. You can install apps that Apple would never, ever allow in its store. Basically, you get to make your phone truly yours from the ground up. But with great power comes, well, you know the phrase. Having the keys to the kingdom is awesome, but it also means if something breaks, it's on you. You're the one in charge, and you're also the one responsible. And the risks? Oh, They are very, very real.
For starters, you can pretty much kiss your warranty goodbye. That's usually the first thing to go. Even worse, you're tearing down all the security walls that the manufacturer carefully built. That leaves you wide open to some really nasty malware. And sometimes you might find your cool custom setup actually makes your battery life worse. Or you could try to overclock the processor, push it to run faster than it was designed to, and you could literally fry the components inside your phone.
And then there's the big one, the ultimate nightmare scenario. You can brick your device. And that's exactly what it sounds like. You turn your $1,000 smartphone into a completely dead, useless paperweight. A brick. And if a root or jailbreak goes really wrong, sometimes there's just no coming back from that.
Okay, now it's not all doom and gloom, let's be fair. If you don't end up with a brick, the process can often be reversed. You can usually unroot your phone and put it back to its original factory state, which, by the way, is something you'd absolutely have to do if you ever wanted to sell it or, try to sneak in a warranty claim. So when you boil it all down, that's the deal. That's the trade-off. Root Access offers you complete freedom, total customization, the actual keys to your own digital kingdom. But that freedom comes at a price, a big one. You're gambling with your security, your warranty, and the life of the device itself. So the real question, the one you have to ask yourself, is all that control worth all that risk?